Hello all, good morning.
Sir, good morning, sir. Sandeep, sir.
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear my voice clearly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
It's clear.
thank you.
Sir, we'll start in 5 minutes, sir. Sir, shall we start, sir?
Yes, please.
Sir, good morning, sir. And good morning, all the participants. I welcome you for the fourth day of Atal FDP, Atal sponsored FDP on challenges and control of green and sustainable energy using artificial intelligence technique. So, I'm here to introduce about the Dr. V. Sandeep sir, and Dr. V. Sandeep sir received his PhD from IIT Delhi in 2013. He currently working as Assistant Professor, Head, Department of Electrical Engineering, Associate Dean, Industrial Outreach and International Affairs at National Institute of Technology, Andhra Pradesh, and chairs of PELS, IAS, PES Joint Chapter, IEEE, Vizag Bay Section. He is also branch coordinator, counselor or advisor of National Institute of Technology, Andhra Pradesh, IEEE Student Branch, PES, PELS and IAS Student Branch Chapters. He worked as Assistant Professor and Coordinator at Central University of Karnataka from 2013 to 2019. He received Gandhian Young Technological Innovation Award 2013, selected as amongst the top 24 innovators across the country by Economic Times Now and Times Now in 2013. Corporate finalist at the 3M CII Innovation Challenge 2014, selected in Top 10 Innovators Project Award 2014 at doctoral level by Indian National Academy of Engineering. Participant in Festival of Innovation at Rashtrapati Bhavan, New Delhi in 2014. Finalist of IIT Delhi Class of 89 Innovation Award 2012, silver medal for Best Research Paper by Indian Railway Board and IE Indian in 2017. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam National Award 2017, listed in Ulked's Wall of Fame with recognition as top 50 expert faculties in the field of engineering across India 2019, and Young Faculty Award in Electrical Engineering 2020, and IEEE India Council Outstanding Young Professional Award 2020 during his tenure as a branch counselor for Central University of Karnataka IEEE Student Branch. The student branch received the Most Promising IEEE Student Branch 2018 award from IEEE Bangalore section, IEEE Regional Exemplary Student Branch Award 2019 and 20, secured 5th rank in Proctor's program at IEEE Extreme 13.0 Programming Competition in 2019. He organized more than 250 technical events for the engineering students, including IEEE Extreme Programming Competition in 2018, 19 and 20. As proctor and mentor for winners of the IEEE Students Ethics Competition during SYWLC 19. He delivered more than 65 popular lectures on energy and educational at reputed institutions organizations. He is the recipient of IEEE Art and SAC Membership Development and Leadership Training Fund 2020 and IEEE Art and HTA Initiate Program Support Fund 2020. He guided successfully 50 BTech and MTech theses, 50 research interns, 2 PhD theses, and currently guiding 7 PhD students. He is IEEE Senior Member, PES, IAS, IES, PELS and Standard Association, IEEE Branch Ambassador and IEEE Young Professional. He published about 50 research papers in reputed international journals and conferences. He received project grant from UGC and IEEE and holds 1 patent. He is the mentor for few startups. His current research interest includes microgrids, smart grids, electric vehicles, artificial intelligence and machine learning in energy system. Sir, thank you very much for timely acceptance and sharing your knowledge, sir. I welcome you once again for the day 4 session 1 and I hand over to you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rupesh, and especially I would like to extend my thanks to Professor Sunil Kumar, HOD of EEE Department of BBR IT College. And it's a good program, Atal FDP program that you are organizing on the theme on challenges and control of green and sustainable energy systems using artificial intelligence techniques. I'm glad to be part of this, and I would like to share my knowledge on this content. And the topic of discussion is today is synchronization and power quality issues for grid connected renewable energy systems actually. And now let me go to sharing of my screen now. Yeah. So is it visible in the full screen mode? Could you please tell me?
I think it is slide mode, sir.
Okay. Now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let me come to my discussion of topic today, and we'll have some kind of interaction. If we have any, interaction at the end, we will take it definitely. And generally, any expectation from any FDP program. So generally, I used to deliver a lot of talks for different colleges. So from the experience, what I think that what are the expectation from the participants is like they look for new content of knowledge, because that's why government also encouraging us to conduct various programs for different communities. And also people search for project ideas for their research projects or their BTech or MTech or PhD projects. And next also the participants also they try to explore new directions for their future research work. Okay, sometimes also you will also try to find out some kind of problem statement also from these lectures also. That way also these kind of lectures will help you. And of course it may help you some extent in your current research work for some kind of improvements where you need to get some kind of input from these lectures and all. And finally, of course, there will be always some curiosity will be there for the participants, like where the resource persons are getting these kind of information and publication resources and all. So this also will give you a better idea to enhance your knowledge. And finally, it's a better, it's a great opportunity for everyone, all the participants. So to have a good linkages with the domain experts, this is what you will improve your connectivity in your technical domain. So this is a great opportunity, I feel personally. Okay, and both varieties, even for me also interact with the college, professors and faculty, this is also good experience to me. This is also good for me also. And coming to my lectures today, so now, so what I'm going to cover is, my lecture is somewhat, I make in different style generally. So generally I try to cover some kind of a background or, some kind of a, introduction I would like to cover. And next is, we will see is what is the current status. So it is most important. And also we'll see some of the latest, developments in this area. And next is definitely we will cover some of the basics. Okay, so basics we never leave the basics and our fundamentals, I can say. And thing is also we should see advanced topics. So advanced topics we'll see, and also we'll see some of the knowledge based content also. So these knowledge based contents always will be useful whenever you go for any interviews or any other interaction sessions or discussion when you go, or even with the project proposal. So these questions are very relevant for you as actually. And of course I will try to cover some of the practical issues which has taken from the reference from the government or industries. Okay, and then some agencies, government agencies or private agencies. Of course we'll touch upon some kind of a policies and standards. Okay, because any work if you taken, so that should be relevant with the practical scenario, and at the same time that should be fulfilled over the government policies or guidelines or standards. Otherwise nobody will accept your work. Okay, that's the reason we should also focus these things. And finally from my lecture maybe you can try to get some kind of a problem statements also for research. Okay, so generally these are the things I used to cover most of my lectures. Today also I have aimed to cover these kind of topics in my lecture. And coming to role of electrical engineers, I hope all the participants are belongs to electrical engineering community. So now if you look at what is our role is electrical engineers to design and develop the new products. So to generate, store, transmit, control, convert energy. And earlier we were dealing with only energy. Now we are also dealing with information and data. So this is what new change in electrical engineering actually. So with this, I think future of electrical engineering is going to be changed. Okay, because of adding of data. So that's why you popularly heard about the smart grid technologies. Okay, where we are dealing also information and through communication technology, we are dealing with data and information. Okay. And coming to what is the fundamental route in identification of any new technology that you take up, even now this is what we are trying to discuss today, grid connected renewable energy system. That if you take that topic, so in that topic everyone should understand what is the state of art and current status. Then once you understand, then you should identify what are the problems in existing technologies. Then only you can propose what is the future development, future scope to work. Okay. So if you skip these first two steps, then you cannot perform third step. Okay. So any topic, if you take it, any work, any project work, so you have to follow, these are the fundamental simple 3-step scenario, so that you should ensure to follow that. And this is a slide tell you total electrical engineering, one slide. So we have 4 segments in electrical, as you know, generation, transmission, distribution, utilization. And you study and you go through the different subjects, okay, contents or courses at various stages actually. So now next is, there are 2 new areas being added to our electrical engineering. One is smart grid. So smart grid can be implemented at any stage of our system, that is possible. And next is microgrids are newly being added because emerging renewable energy resources into the system. Okay. So where we were trying to avoid the transmission and distribution, so directly whatever generated supply or power, that can be directly sent to the nearby consumers only. So thereby you can avoid the long transmission distribution losses. We can save a lot of energy also. And being electrical engineer, finally you should be able to good at modeling, design, development, analysis, operation and control. These are the aspects everybody will expect from any electrical engineering actually, engineers. And if you look at the background, why we are focusing on renewable energy nowadays. So I'm sorry. So one is energy demand is going to increasing. So if you compare between the 2000 to 2030, so annual rate of increment in the demand is recorded as 2.4%. And if you look at the developing country, it's more than 4%. And even if you developing countries, energy demand from it's jumping from 27% to 2030 by 43%. This is in view of the energy demand. Now we need to look for the what is the alternative energy resources. And global demand also, if you compare with the different countries versus 2017 and 2040 also. So India, what we are going to have it we have the more than double the energy requirement by 2040. That we should understand. And next is, if we look at the compare with similarly other countries, okay, in terms of a million oil equivalents. Okay, so China is having the highest energy demand, and then after USA, and then we have Europe, and then India actually. And these are the countries right now seriously working on renewable energy technologies. India also is part of it. In India, in South Asia, China and India, and there are other European countries and America, and then next some of the few South America, and then Australian, and very few in African countries. And fortunate, and we are glad to inform that India is standing in third place in emerging the renewable energy in large scale. So right now China is being the first place, and US is the second place. We are standing at third place. Is a good for us, and we have planned a lot of expansions by 2020, but it was slowed down due to this last pandemic last 2 years. But still we are at the third place actually in renewable energy expansion. And this renewable energy, if you look at actually, we don't need to generate power only grid connected. Of course, we can generate the power in the off-grid mode also. So there is a statistics from International Energy Agency. So by 2030, so off-grid power generation also going to be more important, more dominant when compared to the grid connected. So if you see the additional energy requirement by 2030, it is 368 terawatt of energy, whereas in case of off from the off-grid side, so it required 470. That means off-grid power generation also much more important by 2040 or further in future decades. So this is also we should give importance to off-grid power generation. And there are some certain advantages with the off-grid power gen that we will discuss in this lecture. And the importance of the renewable, if you look at one particular year 2017 itself, we can say already we have generated 25% of the global energy generation from renewable itself. Now we are into now to 2021, it has reached close to 30%. So like this. So very soon we are going to see, and total most of the countries they are aiming for the 50% energy generation from the renewable energy generation. So this is a good way that we are moving ahead in this direction. And this is a different global energy electricity production, different countries how they are taking into different global energy by region, historical and forecast. So China, if you look at China, China is having larger share in the global energy production. And next is energy consumption also, when compared with the 2007 to 2050 also. So India is going to be having highest energy consumption growth by 2050 when compared to any other country actually. So you can look at our energy demand by 2050. And also variable power generation, particularly this topic also belongs to that, where you have the solar and wind. So these two comes under variable power generation, is it right? So now even variable power generation compared with 2010 and 2050 also, we have lots of difference. We are going to be more than double or triple, I can say. So 3 times now we are going to increase our variable power generation. And what is the background? What is the main reason why we should go with it towards renewable energy? So even recently, yesterday also there was a Hindu paper, and even lot of news channels you might have seen one news was spreading. So a report of IPCC is about climate change. Okay, International Interpolar climate change report. They are saying global temperature is going to be rise 1.5 degrees Celsius actually by 2030 or something. So now yes, in 2012 itself, International Energy Agency given alert to us. So what are the predictions by 2050? They have given very clearly. Based on that, they described that 6 degrees Celsius, 2 degrees Celsius, and higher in scenario. So if you follow the base scenario, then our temperature will rise. CO2 emissions will cause it, and our thereby global mean temperature will rise by 6 degrees. If you follow conventional methods. And if you follow alternative methods where we can capture some kind of a carbon capture methods, any other nuclear energy something, so then we can at least limit to 2 degrees. But if we, instead of going that alternative scenario, you can go with the third option where you can have high penetration of the renewable energy sources. You can avoid the CCS, carbon capture methods, or nuclear. So you can limit to less than 2 degrees Celsius. That's what we are trying to achieve now. So less than 1.5 degrees Celsius actually through high renewable energy penetration into the system. And you can compare with the emissions also. So if you follow 2 degrees Celsius and if you follow the high RIN scenario, then how much of CO2 emissions that can be avoided or reduced, okay, by 2050, that is also given good projection to us. And this is a slide tells you about who are the highest carbon emitting countries in the world. So China is standing in the first place, USA, and unfortunately we are standing at third place. Okay, so of course our emissions are quantity is very much less compared to other like China and USA, but still we are standing at third place. We should skip this place. And what is our aim now? So all the countries now they have aimed one target, that is to achieve a 50% reduction in energy related CO2 emissions by 2050. So that means energy related CO2. So CO2 emissions can be caused from other sectors also like industrial or transportation and all. But whatever energy generation point of view, that we are trying to limit to 50% emissions by 2050. This is the target is given to all the countries. So another development into our power system also deployment of the electric vehicles and plug-in hybrid vehicles also. So by 2050 we are having to have good amount of share in both sectors, EV and PHEV also. So we are also becoming competitive to other countries also by 2040 and 2050. So this is one of the good sign, and also we should take it as a challenge. And even recent outlook also 2017 outlook also IEA. So we are also giving good competition to the United States of America. So of course by 2050, so China is going to be rule for the EV sector. So even renewable energy also that matter. So we'll see how best we can give competition to these developed countries. And what is the statistics about status of our country? So by recently by May 31st, so we have installed So 383 gigawatt of energy, out of which we have close to 1 lakh. So close to 1 lakh, 96,000 we have installed the power from the renewable energy. So that means I can say, so nearly 25%, 24 something it will come. So nearly 25% of energy we are producing already from the renewable energy. This is a very good sign. So very soon that our target is going to be take it to 50%, so that we can, depend less dependent on the thermal. Okay, right now thermal is close to 60% of energy we are trying to produce from the thermal. And look at the who are the major players here in renewable energy: wind power and solar, ground mounted solar rooftops and small hydro, biomass, and in that bagasse, and then cogeneration is the waste power. If you look at in India, so wind power is the highest. So people may think that solar power is generated more, but recently wind is added more. So solar, now wind energy is occupied in first place, and of course second is solar more. Actually put together itself, here itself we will get more than 70, close to 75,000 megawatt of energy installed, so that we are now close to 95 actually. And of course our power generation off grid, if you look at, very small. It is less than, close to 1300 megawatt of energy, where we need to concentrate this sector also. And this you can get the good details on National Power Portal. This is a portal officially launched, few years back. Actually earlier it was not there. And also you can see the dashboard and all the generation and distribution, every the details you will get it here. It's open source website for public. And how our grid, let us going to be, because today's lecture also is connected to grid connected renewable energy system. Let us understand what kind of grid system we have. So our grid is maintained by National Power Grid Corporation of India. This is only sole subsidiary is authorized agency in India. And our grid is divided into these regions. So northern, eastern, western, southern, and northeast, and then so remaining except southern, so other grids are linked as a central grid, and they serve through HVDC links. Okay, all the inter regions are linked, so you can have more details. And of course in 2013 December 31st we achieved one nation, one grid, one frequency. So by linking the Solapur and Raichur transmission lines, actually through 765 kV lines actually, so we achieved this. Now we are claiming in India only one frequency to do this. And we have a national load dispatch center at New Delhi, and also we will have a regional load dispatch center, that is RLDC, and you will have a state load dispatch centers. And finally you have power system operation control will be there to distribute the power to the all the different areas. And then so this is how 5 load dispatch centers are there, like New Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, and all. Southern it is located in Bangalore. And if you look at the transmission system, so these transmission lines you can see in this figure, it's more than, it's above 400 kV lines. How kind of complex transmission system we have in India. So we are not showing less than 400 kV. So we are not showing in distribution. These are all transmission actual lines. And when coming to distribution, you will find this kind of pictures oftenly in our places actually. So now we are living this kind of a very complex transmission and distribution system. So what is what it implicates now? So now it is implicating to the lot of transmission distribution losses. So right now we have nearly 20% of transmission distribution losses in the system. Okay, so that's why now it's morely now we are going with renewable energy. Particularly we are extending that renewable energy sources into microgrid way, so that we can avoid this transmission distribution losses. So once upon a time it was there 33% it was there. So when you look at independence time, that is only 15%. So this is another disadvantage in conventional power system. And also India is having highest transmission losses compared to any other country. World average transmission distribution losses itself is 8%. Okay, so this is the recent statistic, that is a 21 world average is 8%. And our per capita consumption right now we are now close to we have come to 1300 kilowatt hour. So based on per person almost in India we are consuming this small power. So this power per capita consumption is less than China and USA, but still we are we need to have more power for the future demand and all. And also our cost per supply also going to be increasing. So and then recently we have electrified all the 6 lakhs villages in India. So by end of the 2017, so government of India has claimed all the villages have been electrified. And our peak demand in this country it's going to be increase if you look at, so every year. So now another year you will see like this. So every year our peak demand is going to be increased in the system. So seasonal wise you can see. And also energy requirement in terms of a million units. So that is also going to be increased, okay, every year. So we are going to see a lot of increment in the system energy requirement. And coming to renewable energy, main topic of discussion today. So there are different types of renewable energy. One is grid, wind energy, solar energy, bio, hydro, thermal, geothermal, wave and tidal system. So in this, what is very good, have potential, have a grid connection is only, so this wind and solar only. So biomass, it's only at the, I mean, there are very few plants it's having the megawatt, but you will find many of the plants good in megawatt in the abroad countries, particularly US and Europe countries, US. So India, we don't have that much large companies, and hydro also, small hydro is also not capable to in megawatt. So then geothermal also we are not explored in India, and wave and tidal somewhat it's explored, and that is also research kind of project is explored by IIT Madras. And now right now we have the scope, very good scope to connect with the grid, only those are like wind and solar. So in this lecture also we'll concentrate on wind and solar. And when you look at this renewable energy application, it's not only for power generation, we can also explore other direct applications like cooking, heating and water pumping and transportation and buildings also, so that we can save the energy. And also what we can do is we can optimize the energy, and then you can increase the efficiency. So okay, so most of the times if you use electricity for heating, so that is not a good practice actually for in case of like energy conversion process. Okay, and solar. So in 2019 we have added good amount of solar, that is 8.6% of solar installed capacity of the global we have added. So that's good, and we have a very good solar potential irradiation we can say. So we can say here 5 kilowatt hour, so meter square per day we can generate from solar. So this is what our this National Renewable Energy Laboratories USA, it tells us. Even our solar energy center also it tells us. And similarly we have a good potential of wind also. So this is a strategic location where you will find the wind. So you can, if you look at the combined state of Andhra and Telangana, it was there in like Anantapur and those sectors, and here like this, and lot of where you will have most of the wind is you will find in coastal Gujarat. And this is a potential. So we have close to 50,000 of megawatt of wind potential we have. Already we have achieved close to 40,000. Okay. So now what more, after completing this, what we are going to do is we are going to move offshore. Okay. So these are not the offshore. So offshore wind potential again we are trying to explore, and thereby we can enhance our wind power generation in the country also. So here is Gujarat is highest. So combined state of Andhra and Telangana is having the 5,393. And this is the strategic locations in combined state of Andhra and Telangana. So like most of the places you will find in Anantapur, and then few in Kurnool, and then one in Nellore, here Chittoor, Kadapa, and here in near Vijayanagaram, and then one place very close to Hyderabad, that is near Chevalla. You will find it many wind plants when you in Rangareddy district you will find it actually. If you go towards towards Karnataka side. And next is solar. What is the standalone, simple standalone solar PV system to analyze? So there is importance of the power electronic converters, because you will get a low power DC, low DC, low voltage DC. So to boost it, we need to have certainly boost converter of DC to DC converter, and also at the same time we need to work on MPPT controllers so that we can track the maximum power, extract the maximum power from the solar. And of course we certainly need inverter control, because at the grid side, the consumer at grid side, so we needed a constant voltage. In case of standalone, we need 230 voltage, we need 50 Hz frequency as a constant. So how do you get these constant things? Okay, so that is only possible through inverter control only, no other way. And coming to what are the trends, let us see, and using power electronics, and what are the solar energy system that one can establish. So first configuration may be possible is centralized PV system, where you have a solar panels array will be there, so that is connected here parallelly, and you have only one single centralized inverter and connected to utility. This is one scheme directly is possible. And second possible is you can have it, instead of one centralized, you can go with each solar array can have one string inverter. So maybe here the more reliability will be there, like when instead of one centralized converter, you can go two different. So even this one failure, this system can still it work. Okay, or so sometimes there is a requirement of separate DC to DC converter. Here it is eliminated here. Okay, so in this case, previous case it eliminated, so that whatever voltage is required for inverter, that is directly you are getting from the solar array itself. But here sometimes you will get a low voltage, so for to boost the low voltage certainly required DC to DC converter, and then you can have a one common inverter. So this is a one string inverter, this is second string inverter, but you can have a one common inverter. This is also another topology is possible with grid connection. And coming to, you can similarly you can exercise in the modular way. Okay, AC modular configuration, like different modules, module 1, module 2, module 3, and so that you can connect them parallel and connect it to utility. This is how large solar power plants are being installed in the country also. And coming to the single phase grid connected system, that is even we can establish as a domestic user. So we have a solar system, and you can have a solar one single phase inverter. This is single phase inverter. Okay, so from the single phase inverter, then you connect the filter and connect a single phase transformer, connect it to utility. So this is a very simple flow of energy that you can see here. Okay, that is called single phase, single stage. You can see only one conversion here using, that is through so inverter only. And next is multi-stage you can have. Okay, so multi-stage that is possible with the help of high frequency transformer. So solar panel, and then you have inverter. So inverter output, what is there is, this is AC. That inverter AC, that again you can give the rectifier, so that will give you DC. That DC again it will give you AC and fed it to DC. So you can see multi-stage of the power conversion AC to DC like this and that. So here there is a role of high frequency transformer. So it is not only provides electric isolation between these two primary and secondary type of circuit, but also it gives good voltage great transformation, I can say. Okay, okay. So that is also good improvement. Of course, it will also give the isolation of the whatever disturbances from this side to this side also. That is anyway that will isolate it. And similarly, you can explore the three-phase configurations also, where solar system and three-phase inverter, and you have the filters and three-phase transformer connected to utility. Okay, this is one other straightforward system. And in this case also you can have multi-string, and with isolation with the help of high frequency transformer also possible. So where you can see this configuration, where you have the solar panels, and you are going to use the single phase inverters. Okay, single phase inverter, and then you can convert again to this DC. So here is common DC bus bar. Okay, so from the common DC bus bar, now use one three-phase three-phase inverter, because you are trying to connect the three-phase system, not single-phase system. So if you are trying to connect single-phase system, then you can connect single-phase inverter instead of three-phase, then connect it to utility. Okay, single-phase utility again. And this is a typical solar energy system one can find in many of the research papers also. So what are the functions we need to do? So one is basic control functions is voltage and current control. So DC link voltage, that is most important. If you control the DC link voltage, obviously your one control of inverter will become easy, and you will get a constant voltage and frequency at the output. Okay, and grid synchronization, that is another important very much factor actually. So how do you synchronize it? So because you may have sometimes different frequencies, and grid has very certain grid frequency also varies and something. So how exactly, what is the role of inverter in grid synchronization? That is very important. And maximum power point tracking, to extract the maximum power from the solar panels, anti-islanding protection, and power plant monitoring, and grid support, fault right through, energy storage, and other ancillary services like harmonic compensation, what are the filters that you use, or any other constant power generation control, how do you connect to the different get the power from this. Okay, so like this you need to perform some kind of a monitoring and control also. And coming to India, so what are the solar PV configurations are already possible, what is the government is approved, and what kind of system you will see even live in the practical cases. So as per recent Central Electricity Authority 2018, they have released one concept paper. they identify there are 4 possible configurations solar in India. So one is grid connected PV system without battery, that one can install, or you can install the with battery, and they're suggesting with the grid battery, that is in a net metering system. So but this battery will be connected only when the grid is isolated. Okay, when you disconnect from the grid, so then you can bring the picture of this battery, so that you can charge the battery or you can deliver the power to the loads also. So this is the second case they said. And third one is you can set up the solar power plants in off grid mode also, where with the help of battery also. That is one possible, and thereby you can supply the power to the cluster of houses or community. And another one is without battery, directly off grid dedicated solar system, so that directly you can give independent loads. So generally these are the 4 configuration they identified, and they said this is a possible for Indian scenarios. And they are given some kind of guidelines also. If somebody is setting up solar power plants in grid connected off grid mode, they release a common guidelines. One is, so your grid inverter should have a surge production devices both at AC and DC output sides, and your inverter should have a more than 97% efficiency. Okay, this is they put rule also. And next is your inverter should give an alert when you have any internal damage or any change in power quality. So some kind of alert system should have, maybe that is possible, maybe smart means through IoT. Okay. And next is inverter should shut down automatically when there is a blackout or any other problem is there. And next is inverter any compensation methods is required for harmonics or reactive power, that also you should take care as inbuilt or separate unit along with the inverter, that yourself you should take care, grid will not take care. And then inverter should have a inbuilt harmonic recording and monitoring of the harmonics, there is a system should be display. And of course whatever the harmonics, regarding harmonic, we need to follow the compliances of the CA Central Electricity regulations 2013 and 7 also they made. And next is they said to effective change in load patterning. So now we need to have some kind of a additional harmonic requirements also that we need to study and all these things. And also it should be disconnected from the grid when there is any problems or unavailability grid supply, all these things as per the isolation you should take care as per CAA guidelines. And next is a isolator should be supplied, installed at the grid point of time, solar roof tower system. Okay, whenever due the maintenance or any failure and all these things. And finally they said utility also should have a monitoring and control system, monitoring system also of the installed solar panels, not only user, so utility also should have a monitoring control monitoring system also. So these are the things that specified to the solar. Okay. So then let us move to the wind energy. So wind energy, you might be aware that what are the generators possible for wind generator. One is synchronous generator, squirrel cage, DFIG, and the permanent magnet generators are possible. And also here also, like we'll also track the wind speed characteristics, like how, so that we'll try to get the maximum power. Suppose if your wind speed is 11 meter per second or 9 meter per second, so these are the points where you will get the maximum power actually. So that what our aim is to track the maximum power always of the wind turbine, so that your efficiency will improve it. So similar to solar. And this is the first scheme of wind grid connected system, like a fixed speed wind generation, where you can suitably use this induction generator with the help of gearbox, that is possible, and you can give the excitation and then connect it to the grid. Okay. And variable speed generators, in case of variable speed we will go with WFED, permanent, and wound field synchronous generators are possible. So this is 3 configurations where you have, but in case of DFIG you will find the grid power electronic converters at the rotor side, not at the stator side. So this power converter is less scalar actually when compared to the stator side. Okay, because you have this rotor side power is less, and voltage is less, and frequency also S into slip. Okay, so that we have a reduced power converters required for the DFIs. But here you have full scale requirement is there. Okay, so here also full scale requirement is there. So whatever, now what I mean is full scale is whatever generation capacity, generated rating, so same rating of inverters, converters you should choose it. Okay, but whereas in case of DFIG, so you have a lower rating. So generator rating is suppose about some that is I can say 5 kilowatt something. So these power converters will not be 5 kilowatt range. Okay, it will be less, maybe 2 kilowatt or something is enough. Okay, so this is advantage. Here there are these converters are called generator side inverters. So converter, or you can say this is grid side inverter or the grid side converter. It's knownly it's called. And similarly you can go with a permanent magnet generator. Here also rectifier is required, and then next is where we can control the power, and next is grid side converter where we will get the voltage and frequency is constant. Okay, so these two same thing you can exercise with synchronous generator also. And of course you can go with a distributed energy storage option with a grid connection. So you can look at here, there are two plants here. So each wind pond is having the small energy storage system at the connected at DC link. Okay, similarly this is also connected like that. You modular way you can connect, that is what distributed energy storage system. And finally you can have a common bus bar. So common bus bar and connected to grid. This is one configuration is possible for you. So there is another possible, there is a centralized grid energy storage for wind energy. So instead of having the connection at the DC link, so you can have a one large energy storage system that is commonly connected at the AC bus bar. So to connect the AC bus bar, this DC batteries, then you should have an inverter also. So this inverter, DC to AC, and then transformer, and then grid. So this is another possibility. And similarly you can exercise with DFIG also. This is a DFIG 1 and this is a DFIG 2, and you have a common megavolt AC micro AC grid, and through transformer connected to high voltage AC grid also. So that way it is also possible. And this is a full scale, so not DFIG. So directly this generator can be induction generator, so PM generator or synchronous generator. Okay, three possibilities are there. So you have a AC to DC rectifier, and then inverter, and then transformer. You can have a common bus bar, transformer connected to utility. And another application you will find renewable energy in HVDC also. Sometimes you might have studied power electronics applications in HVDC also. So where this renewable energy also can be interlinked with can interlink two regions also. Like you have a wind power plants in one region. Okay, so we have wind plants in another region. So these two regions can be interlinked, okay, through HVDC links. So that is also possible. Same thing. So finally here what you are trying to convert AC to DC. This is you are trying to build high voltage DC grid. So other side also they will build a high voltage DC grid. The both links are interlinked. So thereby you can have a HVDC link between the two regions with the help of renewable energy. This is also another application. So next is in the recent power electronics advancements, you might have heard about steady state transformer. So that is nothing but power electronics transformer, I can say. So power electronic transformer. So where you are removing the conventional transformer. Okay. So instead of conventional transformer, you can directly go with the power electronics based converter. Converters, which will also act as a power. It will also do the transformer function, so that you can also build the similar systems. And this is the final conclusion from wind. Suppose if you have a high speeds, okay, then you should go with a multi-gear system, because speeds are varying, and you can select the high speed generators and then converter. So if you have a medium speed, then you can have a single gear system. So this can be 1:3, 1:5 something ratio, and but this will have 1:3. So 1:5, 1:7, these are the ratios are possible like this. And where we can go with low speed generators, there is no gearbox here, directly it's a direct driven. So most of the cases whatever you see in rooftop, that is PMSG generators. So with this no gearbox, directly is driven with the help of low speed PMSG generators. And another recent technology is using matrix converters. So where we will get a variable voltage, variable frequency. So that's one. And same matrix converter full scale, that can be also implemented in DFIG also. That is also possible. And this is a conclusion of the wind power system. Okay. So like you can go with DFIG, permanent magnet generators and induction generator, and you have similar two converters like a rectifier and inverter connected to grid. So now here you can see here, and similar basic functions we should do: voltage and current control, DC link voltage, grid synchronization, and power maximization, fault right through. Other ancillary services like power quality, storage, or inertia, all these things we should be able to control it. And coming to extend, actually, so now let us take it now. Once you understand this solar and wind, so how do you combine them? How do you make a hybrid system? Thereby you can build a microgrids. So this is now emerging trend nowadays, actually. So now here what you see is you will find lot of different energy distribution energy resources, DERs, that we call popularly distribution energy resources, and then you will have loads, and you will have utility connection. Okay, utility also will be connected, and of course energy storage devices also will be there. And International Energy Agency, they have given already proper definition for microgrid. So it's a cluster of loads, distribution energy units, and storage units operated in coordination to reliably supply electricity to connected host power system at distribution level. Where you connect your microgrid, so you should connect to the conventional grid or host it. At distribution level you should connect. That is a point. It is called as a TCC, that is called very popularly known in research. So point of common coupling. At point of common coupling we will have the distribution level. So that place where you will connect it to host power system, these are your resources. And similarly, other definition from IEEE and NERL from USA. So they also given microgrid definition. It's a group of interconnected loads with DER clearly defined electrical boundaries and operated as a single standalone controllable entity that can be operated in two ways. One is grid connected and grid isolated mode. So two ways it will function. It can be connected to grid, or it without connection, that is standalone mode also it can be able to operate. And there are three types of microgrids you will see. One is AC microgrids. So that means output power ultimately is AC. And where DC microgrid, you will find DC systems, and output power you will get a DC only. And where you have combined hybrid, so both you have AC and DC also. I will show the examples also. So what is operation? Just now we discussed. It is operated in the grid connected and grid isolated, both ways is possible. And say both vice versa it will operate. Transition from grid isolated to grid connected to grid isolated, both ways it will function. And protection, so you need to take care in three categories. One is when you de-energize or falls or any abnormal operating condition, we should try to isolate from the conventional power system. There we have to perform protection things. And second case, whenever some kind of issues you are facing with the resynchronization with the electrical power system, that time also you need to take care of this protection. And another possibility, within the microgrid system, whenever there is isolation falls, any abnormal function, or when you are trying to any synchronize isolating system also, that time also you need to take care of these protection issues. And there is a standard definition for the IEEE IEEE standard for 2030 for the microgrid control system. What it says, it includes the control function that defines microgrid as a system of manage itself, operate autonomously, to connect and disconnect from the distribution grid for exchange of the power and supply of the ancillary services. It includes the functions of the microgrid management system, that is MEMS, and that should be implemented in the centralized form. Whatever controller that you are trying to build it, that should be implemented in the centralized form as per this IEEE standard. And this is a very simple topology one can understand from this. This is a conventional grid system. You have a one bus bar, you can clearly say CB4. So where it is creating the grid connected and grid isolated. Okay, if you want to connect to the grid, you close it. If you want to isolate, open it. And you have a sectional, you have each bus bar, you have a feeder A. This is a feeder A, this line, this is feeder B, this is feeder C. Each feeder will have its own sources. It can be renewable energy, it can be some conventional CHP combined heat power plant, it can be storage. So each energy resources will have one MC, that is called microsource controller. That is nothing but power electronic based only. Okay. So each energy source will have power electronic converter. So through that it will be connected to feeder A, and you have a cross sectional sections will be there to divide them. And this section brief feeder, it is have no sources are available. Directly loads are there. This 1, 2, 3, the 4 loads are directly taking for supply from the grid only. So no other source. And next is this is another feeder also. They have few sources also there. So now we can isolate these feeders from the circuit breaker 1, 2, 3 like this, and you have a one centralized controller, that is centralized controller CC is there. So this is a typical way of one can configure any microgrid. And you can look at here the power PV array and wind turbine. So suitably you will converting power to the from source to load side, here are grid side. So DC to DC converter, inverter, and here rectifier, inverter, filter, and coming to common AC bus bar. This is common AC bus bar where you are connecting to the grid at PCC. This is the most important, PCC. And of course you can connect to the loads also. So if you have loads, you give the power to the loads, or if you have surplus power, give it to the grid. And also you have a very centralized distribution, energy storage is there, where that is also connected to directly common bus bar. This is what AC microgrid. So ultimately what you are trying to build, a common AC bus bar connected to AC grid and connected to AC loads. That's why it is AC microgrid. And next is you can build the DC bus bar, DC microgrid also. So you have multiple energy resources, but ultimately you can build a one common DC bus bar. So this is a common DC bus bar. So from there you can identify what are the loads. In case of DC loads, you have consumer loads which will operate low voltage, which you have a other industrial traction loads which will operate high voltage. There are other medium voltage based loads are there, IT sector, EV charging, and HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, water pumping, all these things. So like that, based on the loads, we need to segregate it, because whereas in AC there is no problem, because all our loads are operating with the 230 voltage in case of single phase. If you have 3-phase systems, or we will operate in a 415 or 440 AC 3-phase system. Okay, so there is no problem in AC. Those are fixed with the ratings, but in case of DC you have a different voltages are there. So still we can able to manage through smart controller to operate these loads, that is possible. And you can build a hybrid also. So one can build the hybrid systems. So where you have a common AC DC bus bar, you can build it, and also you can have the supply to AC loads also. So both this is, you can make a common AC bus bar also you can build. This is what hybrid one can make it. And what are the main goals in particularly grid connected renewable energy sources? One is grid, when you connect the grid, so one is a 4 coordinate active power and reactive power dispatch, and current unbalance and balancing, and current harmonic compensation. And when you trying to disconnect mode, then what will happen is sudden change. What will happen is we need to phases of these voltages cannot be controlled. So we will find some kind of obviously voltage rise or dips will be there. So mostly voltage rise will be there. Okay. And next is storage system also. This is another, to how do you bring the power balance. Okay. So power balance using storage. This is also another. We'll discuss in detail further slides anyway. And coming to industry challenges, what in the particularly distribution grid connected system, one is what we see is over voltage, open circuit over voltage, unintentional islanding. When you do islanding, so obviously we'll see some kind of over voltages, and production ratings are not matched with the fault currents. If you are matching, there is no problem. This production device will operate, otherwise it will not operate. And then varying false currents due to DG. And trace and voltage regulation, anti-aliasing schemes also will create a lot of power quality issues. And as I said, for microgrid will operate 2 modes, grid and isolated. Here, so you have a local MCs and then centralized control. They have some particular functions. When you look at the microsource control functions, it will do the active and reactive power control, voltage control, and storage requirement, and load sharing through the power factor control. This I will explain in brief. I will not take much time on this. So, but those are important. And similarly, microsource controller, it have its own duties, and we can add new microsource controllers. It can have disconnect and connect from the utility, from the feeders. Also, microsource controllers can have independently control the active and reactive power, and also it also controls the voltage sag and imbalances also. Any faults can be handled. All these things, dynamics also it can be handled, because you have what is the advantage? You have a power electronics controllers in the microsource controller. With that we can do it. And what is the main functions of the centralized inverter controller? One is it will maintain the voltage and frequency as specified as a constant at the load end. That's what we required. So how we will get it? Through power frequency method and voltage control method. And of course, another major function of the centralized control is energy optimization of the microgrid. Okay, so that when you do energy optimization, automatically your efficiency will go up. And of course CC will have two modules. One is energy module, management module, another production. So the one can refer this book. This is a very basic fundamental book for the students particularly, so they can have a fundamentals of this. And active and reactive power control, I will tell you, these are very important, many times, so interview questions they ask, how do you control active power, how do you control reactive power, all these things. So here is, in the case of, micro source control, very easy. We have a power electronic converter. So where this power electronic converter will do it, but how? That's a again question. Okay. So now I think all of you know the popular, power flow equations. Okay. So power flow equations now here. I'm sorry. Um, okay. So here active power control. So using the, this power angle. Okay. And next you can see the reactive power can be controlled using the voltage. So using these equations, simply one can explain that what is sending and receiving end, and both you can explain. Okay. So this way you can tell. One minute, I think it was stuck up something. Okay. There was some problem. 1 minute, I will remove my interactive screen. I'll continue without that. One minute, please. Yes. Are you able to see my screen?
No, sir.
Okay. Can you remove my option and then give? Could you please do that?
Shall I share, sir? Shall I share, sir?
Is okay. That is also fine. Or can you just remove my option, sharing option? Again, you can provide.
I have given you a co-host option, sir. You can share. I think first you need to stop sharing and I think start.
Yes, that's what I'm doing it, but there was some stuck up.
Sorry for the inconvenience. Within 2 minutes, sir will join again. Sir, I have given you a co-host option, sir.
Yes, actually I logged in through mobile. So one thing is you can do that, you can share the.
Shall I share, sir?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
sure.
Anyway, I'm restarting my system.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I will do this way.
Okay, sir. Is it visible, sir?
Yes, it is getting now. But it's not visible,
Just a minute, sir. Is it clear, sir, now? Sir, is it clear now? Sandeep, sir?
Yes. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So now, yeah, you can go to next slide, please. Yeah. Moving. Yeah, please. Yeah, okay. This is also fine. Next. 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 Yeah. So now what we are discussing is voltage control. So how do you control the voltage is, it's predominantly based on what is the nature of the current, that is inductive and capacitive. So if the inductive current, then what we need to, these currents will become predominantly inductive. So that what we need to do, we need to increase the voltage set point, whereas in case of capacitive, we'll decrease it. So that we will understand from the previous slide. You just go back to previous slide. So in the previous slide, it's showing here, if the inductive currents are rising, then your voltage set point, that means you need to increase it. And at the same time, if the capacity in the nature, that means you need to reduce your voltage set point based on the grouping characteristics of this V and Q, and we are going to set the voltage, voltage control. This is very fundamental phenomena in the microgrids or any renewable energy technologies. Next. Yeah. So how much of reactive power that you need to control based on that equation. So once you have inverter rating is yes, and then what is the reactive power is required, what is the reactive power is required. So based on that, you will find it. That is the equation also given in that slide. And coming to fast track storage requirement for fast loading tracking. So what we should do is, when you connect with the we don't need to worry about storage systems and all. But in case of standalone system, then definitely we need to depend on the storage system that will also provide some kind of a power balance in the system. So that's why we requirement of the storage systems in the system. Next. And coming to power load sharing through power frequency control. This is very much important when particularly in the standalone system actually. So what we can see here sometimes actually, so in grid connected system, whatever loads, as I said just now, it will be taken by everything by the grid only. But in case of a standalone system, now how our conventional UPS systems are taken care by in domestic places in our house and homes and all. Similarly, you should able to see that. Okay. And next is what is here, how we can understand this phenomena. So let us go next slide. Easily I can explain from the next slide. Here, let us assume that you have two sources, wind and solar. So both sources are operating at P01 and P02 at frequency of omega 0. So that's a frequency. Now suddenly that load of the system are increased. Now what will happen is, it is going to be operated at new points, and that is a P11 and P122, so that your power also is varied. So now what you see here, power balance, okay, will not take place now. So what we should do is, you need to take care the power balance, so that again your frequency can be restored to again omega 0. So this is a condition one should see that actually. Okay. So this way you should able to do the power balance, thereby you can achieve the required frequency into the system. Very fundamental phenomena. So next. So next, similarly, power factor control. So already you are dealing with power electronic converter at the source side and grid side. So these power electronic converters will have the inbuilt power factor control technology. So that is sometimes inbuilt components will have, or we need to have externally, you need to connect with. So with the help of those things, so we can have this. Next. And similarly, another control is required for prime mover speed control also there, where you are depending on the generators, particularly wind energy system. Because when you have the variable speed, then frequency also will vary. Sometimes even if you have the constant speed prime mover, then you need to change the fuel input also. Then still you need to run at a constant speed, still it varies, your frequency operation. Particularly in case of induction generators, if you are operating still at a constant speed operation above the synchronous speed slightly, and your frequency will go down. So that is the reason actually this is also, this speed control also is required. Okay. So then next. And similar, just now what I explained, the frequency regulation that will be taken care by the power frequency control. So that is through PF droop control characteristics that we need to take care, so that we try to make the power balance. That means power balance is nothing but whatever generation, source generation is equal to load demand. If you make it equal always all the time, then there is no frequency regulation that you see. Okay. So there is a fundamental phenomena that almost all the practical engineers, they follow this. Okay. So next. And another important point in this renewable energy system, sometimes you will have heat loads. So what we'll do is, heat loads now, it can be given priority using the help of CHP microservices, combined heat power plants when you have in the system. So let us use whatever heat is generated from the system directly utilized for heat application like heating loads and all. Okay, you should not waste electricity to heat some kind of equipment or some kind of loads. So that is it's not efficient method, so that we will lose the efficiency of the system also. So that's why whenever you have the heat loads, let us prioritize them and then get the supply from the CHP plants only. Yeah, next. So then energy optimization also. So when you do the optimum operation of the microsource controllers, okay. So that means you have a solar, wind, bio, or any other fuel cell or battery or something will be there. Then you have some set of loads are there. Now what is the thing you do is, then which part, suppose 100 kilowatt load is there, then you have different sources are there. So how much loads, how much of generation that you need to take care from different sources and all. So how do you, I joined from the this one, let me do that please.
Sir, should I stop sharing?
Yes, that I can do. What is the time limit? Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What is the time limit?
Yeah, we can go up to 11:15, sir.
Okay. I will complete it.
Okay, sir.